Hi everyone, welcome. I'm going to hold up here for a minute. Let me take this away. There we go. All right, so I'm going to hold up here for just a moment to see if we have some people coming on. And while I do that, I'm going to get up my iPad going here. Here we go. And I'll find our page. There's a few people out there. Hang on while I get my announcements up. Just having a little bit of behind stuff today happening. There we go. Let me turn the volume down on that. I'll tell you all about my little dilemma today. So there we go. We have some people on. My comments are up. So welcome. Welcome to Live with Janome. I'm Ann Hine. I'm the embroidery software specialist for Janome. And today we're going to be talking about our mystery quilt block number 3. And it's going to be a bit of a mystery because I had to travel up to the office. And so I prepared everything to bring up here. And I brought my step outs and I had done the project, the 2 blocks for now, but they didn't make it in my bag. So I have some pictures. So I'm going to talk about the pictures. So what we'll do is I'm going to show you the blocks. Then we'll do the step out. So I'll show you the different parts, and then we can go into the software, and I'll show you how to create them in the software. And I am in a new place. If you notice in my background there, I do have a. Let me just turn this way, maybe a little bit. There we go. I'm in the Janome studio. So I have a new backdrop. I'm up here working on some special projects. So that's why my live is coming from here. So let's see who's watching today. We got quite a few people. Let's see who's out there. All right, really good. Well, welcome. So the directions for the blocks will be posted to the Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. That's where I keep all the things. So if you want the directions on how to create the block in the software and how to stitch it and all of that, that'll be posted probably tomorrow or Saturday, because after I do the live, I like to double check that what we did on the live works with the directions that I wrote, sort of how I proofread it. So those will be posted, and they're in the guides over on that page. And where you find the guides is at the very top. We have a big banner that says Artistic Digitizer. It's the official Janome page. And then right below there, there's some the members pictures, and then there's some words. And where it says guides, you would click there, and then you would go to the guide that says Mystery Quilt Block 2022. So in there will be all the blocks that we've done so far. So we're up to block 3, and there's actually 2 blocks in block 3. So we did block 1, there were 4. There were 2 in our February, and then there's the 2 for now. And I have them in the computer as far as the designs, and I'll show you those when we go to the software. So let me show you pictures of the blocks. And I apologize for this. I thought, oh, I'm so ahead. I got everything together. I'm feeling so good. And I took the ready-made blocks and I set them over here, and I didn't put them with the rest of it. So, these things happen. So let's go here, and I have them. I have a picture of them here. So these are the 2 blocks we're going to do. And what we're doing is, I'm going to point out on this one over here. So we're going to create the piecing part of it, which is this center block and then these corners. And after we do all of that, there's a decorative stitch that goes around, and then you can put whatever embroidery you want on the inside. And I put this design, this is from OESD. And on the other one over here, it's hard to tell, but I just used a Shashiko design from the Janome designs in the 15,000, and I brought them into, you'll see it when I show you the software. I brought it into the software, and then I sized it to fit in that square. And it's hard to see. I don't know if I can zoom in. Let me see if I can get this to zoom a little bit. So you can kind of see over here, like right in here, I used a little design to quilt that. And then on the other one, I did a design, but it's hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Yeah, it's very hard to see right in here, but I used these pins that are in there. I'll show you how I cut one out, and I made my quilting design to go right there. So it's hard to zoom in on that. Let me see if I can maneuver this a little bit better to that block so you can see the whole block. And then we'll zoom in because I used a, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be. There, you can kind of see like right in here where I did the pins as my embroidery. So I'm going to go back out here. So I created my own embroidery for that, and I'll put this back. All right, so while I have the camera here, let me double check what's happening over here. Pretty good, we're all doing good. All right, everybody. All right, so I'm going to remove this and I'll show you the step outs. So when you go to create your block, let me get this all centered. Here we go. So you're going to hoop your poly mesh stabilizer. And that's what I used. You don't have to use this if you don't want, but I do like this poly mesh. And this one actually has a shiny side. It's hard to tell. It is a fusible, so if you want to use it as a fusible, you can. So you would hoop the stabilizer. And what I was able to do, I'm going to pick this one up to show you that. I was able to get two of these on the stabilizer. So I hooped one and stitched it all, and then I hooped the second one. So this is actually a 13-inch width by, I think it's 18. And then I used the SQ20 hoop, I believe. So you would hoop your stabilizer, you'd put your batting in the center, and then what's going to happen is it's going to stitch the some placement lines for you, and this is the outer stitch here is the unfinished size of our block, and the inner one here is the finished size. And then it's also going to stitch the center placement for your square in the center. So the thing with, I made these all the same color here, but in the software I have them as individual colors. So you can create them in individual colors because I find that easier. And then I went ahead and then you can change it to all one color, and this can all stitch at once. All right. And since this is a 8-inch piece of batting, it fit completely in my hoop, so I didn't have to worry about placing the batting. You can see there's plenty of space around the batting. So once you have that done, you would place your center block in here, and then you would stitch that down, and then you would attach your side piece. So you would lay your corner triangle, and I give you information on how to cut that. That's a 5-inch square that you cut on the diagonal. And then you can trim this if you want to 1/4 inch. And then you would flip this back and make sure it covers both of these lines, because this is your finished and this is your unfinished. So you want to make sure it comes all the way out. And I would put a piece of tape there. So, and I would do one, and then I would do the other. I did opposites, and then I went and did the other one. So this is what I would do. My machine would set up so I would be ready to stitch here. I would take this right sides together, lay it on there like that, and then it's going to come and stitch this down. And then I would stitch it and flip it back like that. And it would fit. It doesn't look like it fits, but it does fit there. So that would go there. And then I would do this side and that side. Once all of that's done, I do a tack down on the outer side to hold down all these rough edges. Then I'll do the decorative stitch that I had on there, and then the embroidery on the center. Now I'm not using a backing, okay? I'm just using my mesh. I'm going to be trimming these later and showing you how to put them. I want a whole back, so I'm going to show you how to put them together. Once we get a couple more made, I will do one whole lesson on putting it together. If you wanted to add a backing, what I would do is after all your stitching is done, before it does the quilting, you may want to lay your back piece on here, on the back of your hoop, and then let it quilt here in the corners. And you could also do a little stitching in here if you want to hold the center of it too. If you don't want any of your embroidery to show to the back, just make sure you have a little tack down in here of quilting to hold all that in place. Pretty much your corners should hold that in if you're adding the backing as you go. I didn't want to add backing as I go. So let me go back to my comments here, and then I will put the software on. Let's see what we have here. Any comments? We're all doing good. All right. Now, are many of you making the blocks and following along? Let me put the camera back on. Let's see here. There we go. So I'm not sure how many of you are doing the actual blocks, but for my one coming up, I'm using this. It's sort of a metallic looking kind of fabric. I can't remember what the name of it is. I'll get you the name. And then I do use this as one of my colors. And then from this, I'm going to be picking different pinks, some other pink prints, some of this yellowy print, things like that, so that I can, and you'll notice that on the other one, I did use the yellow in there. So different colors to add to it. So those are the color schemes I'm going to go with through the whole thing. And I can just pick and choose the pinks and the yellows. There's like, this is like a little bit of a grayish purple in there. So I can pick maybe some of those as I go. So they will all sort of match. I was going to do more of a scrappy look. And I started that way, and then I wasn't sure I liked it. So I went back and I've started to remake my block. So once I get all my blocks remade, I'll do I'll show us we're going to put them together. Yeah, see, Marty said she's going to do them. She wants to see how they look before she starts doing them. And I certainly understand that. And you may want to do some test blocks. You may do one and decide, I don't like those colors together or whatever. And honestly, if you do the piecing part in the hoop and you don't like those colors, just take that out of your hoop and restart. Don't do the embroidery on it or the quilting on it. Save yourself some time on that till you get the colors that you want. I think that would work good. Yes, Terry, I'm doing these all in the hoop of my machine. So in my 550E, so you would hoop that when I was talking about this stuff here, you would hoop this and then lay your batting in there. It would stitch that down, and then you'd move from there. Now, of course, you can create these with a sewing machine too, if you wanted to, and that wouldn't be a problem. But since I'm the embroidery software specialist, we're doing our mystery blocks this year, all in the hoop as we go through. And some months we have, like the first month we had 4 blocks. We've had 2 blocks last month and 2 blocks this month, and it just depends. I did post the layout. Directions for 1 and 2 are on the Artistic Digitizer, the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. That's the one with the blue banner. That's where everything happens. And then if you go to guides, in the guides is the mystery quilt block, and you'll find the directions and the video for each one of those months. All right, let's see if there is any other questions or comments. Oh, we're all doing good. Now, one of the things I also do is in my samples that I showed you, it was in bright pink stitching. I like to do my piecing with white, with these fabrics. So, but for the video, so you guys could see it better, I did it with pink. But I would use white thread up through when I was going to do my embroidery portion, and then you can put in your embroidery color. And that center piece is a beautiful spot for a lot of different things. I mean, I used 2 designs I already had. You could create something for in there. Maybe you want to monogram your quilt. You could put a monogram in there. So that little block gives you something to personalize with. So you can do that. And then, like I said, I used one from OESD, and then the other one came from the 15,000. All right, let's see. All right, Terry's going to check those out. That's great, Terry. All right, so let me go. I'm going to put the software on, and then we will take a look at how to create this in the software. All right, so here's our Artistic Digitizer software, and I'm going to go to the browser. I do have all the blocks in here, and you can see. Let me pull this. I have a little extra window that gets in the way. So over here, these are blocks. The first 4 blocks are here. And then this is our February blocks. And and we actually made these into mug rugs, but then you could turn them into blocks for your quilt, and then these are for this month. So let me open each of these so you can see sort of what they look like if you were just starting out. This block had 3 strips of fabric. These are the stitch line placement and stitch lines here, and then we did a stipple over the whole thing. The other block in this setting, hold on one second, is this one here. Again, we did the 3, I saved it as the 3, and then we added, these are decorative stitches that are in the program, and we resized those. And then let's see what the next one is. There's this one down here. We used some other techniques in here. This was a little bit of a stipple. This was a design that I resized, and then this was a all over stipple, and then I put a shape in here and made the stipple go around the shape, and then I deleted the shape. So I didn't have to, I made these little bumps in there. It's kind of making a little bit of interest. And then the other one for the month was, let me see where that one, this one here. We did some sort of like matchstick quilting. So this is just line stitching here, but was all done in the hoop of the machine. So once you got your 3 pieces on, you could go back and you would put in these lines. And they're very easy to add. Just create one, and then you would use your array tool over here to create the rest of them. So it makes it very easy to do. Okay. Oh, so Sharon is saying that she has, she did the 4 different blocks from block 1, and she used 10-inch pre-cuts from a layer cake. So she had coordinated fabrics and doesn't really like those scraps. So she's going to practice with the layer cake and then probably buy another layer cake of fabrics she loves. So this is a good way to use up some of that fabric you might not like, is to make your sample blocks this way. And sometimes you might have an idea already of what you want to know, but I didn't want to post what all the blocks were at the very beginning, so that it gives everybody a little bit of something to look forward to as we go along. All right, then we'll take a quick look at the 2 blocks. Well, they're the same, so I'll just show one of them. So here's our block from February, and this was an applique in here, so you could put your fabric in here, and we had the heart stitches there, and then a little bit of stipple in there. Let's see what else is here. All right, very good. So Don is asking, what kind of machine is this project on? This project is done on an embroidery machine, and our blocks are, let me see what this inner one is. The blocks are 6.5-inch finished, and then 7 inches unfinished. So as long as you have a like an 8x8 hoop or 7.9 by 7.9 hoop, you can do these, or a larger hoop, or you can resize them to fit any size machine that you want, and any size hoop, and then you just would have to adjust how many blocks you make. You might have to make more blocks to make your quilt bigger, but I based it on that. There'll be, I can't remember now how many blocks are there, but it's in the directions for the first one. So let me go back to my directions here, and I'm going to pull in the pincushion one first, and we'll take a look at that. So here's the complete block, and I'm going to go down the sequence window on the side and show you the different sections, and then I'll show you how I made them. So in our very first one, we created these 2 right here. This is called my block base. So we created that in our lesson 1, and then we saved it so that each time you go to make another block, you just have to open the base and then rename it to whatever that is. This is block 3A, so I would rename this block 3A. And then, so I don't have to recreate these 2 pieces every time. And then there's this 2 center pieces. So these 2 things would stitch, and then this would stitch. And in my graphic, in my step out, you saw I had all of these one color. This is the placement line right here for that center fabric. You would place your fabric on top of this, and then it would stitch it down. So that's what number 4 is. Whoops, let's not do that. There we go. And then I start the lines of stitching down the, and I left my jump stitches in here, so don't worry about those. Those can go away. But this is the first seam to hold that corner. Remember, I laid it right sides together, so it was laying on top of here. This would seam that right there, right on the top of the edge of that piece. Maybe let's go in a little bit, just to the inside of that block, so you don't have any stitching showing. And then you would flip it back. So you'd put that one on. Then you would do the lower one. And then you would do one here and then one here. So all your pieces are on. And then you would do this tack down or basting stitch all around the outside edge to hold on those loose corners so they're all there. And then here's my decorative stitch going around. And then I would put in my pin cushion. And then I created my pin cushion quilting on here. So if I take that, let me see if I did, are these, hang on a minute, let me look at this. Oh yeah, these are now, these are the ones I sent to the machine, so they are JEF files already. Let me look here in my browser. Yeah, so these are the JPXs, so they're not my originals, but that's okay. So I could go back to my originals, which are on another stick, and remove those, remove these. I had just left these in here because I was just transferring things around. So you can make sure you don't have any of these. You can do break apart there. And as you can see in my properties, how I know that this was a JEF file already or an embroidery file is right here. It says raw and convert to curves. So if I wanted to edit this anymore, at this point I would have to convert it to edit it, but I saved it already as a draw file. You always want to save your design first as a draw file and then send it to your machine as a JEF file. And then you can look at it there. I may have them on my other stick. I'm not sure if I have them on there, but the draw files. But I'm going to show you how I created this. All right, so what I'm going to do is go back to the top here, and I'm going to take this, and this is a 7-inch block. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to create my block base first, in case you've forgotten how to do that. So you grab your shape, click and drag, select it, and then up here in your, I'm going to turn off proportional for a minute. In here, I'm going to put 7.0 and 7.0. There we go. So that's the outer. I can delete right down here. I can delete on this X, my inside part. So there's my outer, the outer edge, the unfinished edge. You can see it right there. And from that, I can copy and paste. And in my box here, I can make that 6.5. And so this is what we did in the first lesson, and we saved this as our block base. So you don't have to do this. Whoops, it helps if you type the right things. There we go, not 196. You want 6.5. There we go. So now I have my inner part. So there's one. And I'm going to change the color of that as I go. You know, I like everything in different colors when I'm designing, so I don't have, so things don't get too garbled. So that next color is going to be gold. So that would be that. Now, to create that the inner box, which was pretty easy, all right, what I did is I selected this inner square here, and I did a copy paste, and I changed the color of it. So let's go to the next color in my list, which is this pink. And then I rotated it 45 degrees. So right here in your toolbox, because it's selected, I can put 45 like that, enter, and there it is. And to get it to fit in perfectly in there, what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and click on one of these corners and just drag in, and it changes everything proportionately, so I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to get it in here just about like that, and I'm going to take a look at it. That looks pretty good. The other thing you can do is turn on your grid, when you're working with this too is you may want your grid on so that you can make sure it is aligning center in your block. And you would be able to see that better. Let me go over here and see if I can turn on my grid. So I can see that, see how this is coming right through the center here? That's what I would want. I would want that to be centered in my block. And I'm in about 1 block, which is a 1/4 inch from the 6.5, from the finished size of that block. You could make it go out further if you want. You can really make this any way you want. So let me undo the grid because I find it kind of distracting when I'm trying to teach. So we'll take that away. All right, so once that's in there, all right, we can see it. I'm going to go back to my design here. It's going to be at the bottom. You can see they're right in here. And this is the placement line, so I would want to copy paste again to make the tack down. So I'm going to do copy paste, and I would change the color of that. I'm going to go with orange, and I would have that on the next part. And then I would start doing my lines here. All right. And the way to make a nice line is to use your grid and snap to. I could come here and I could do a point like, let's say here, and I could go to here like that. And that looks pretty good. And then I could do right click end shape. And that looks pretty good. I actually did a pretty good one. But if you have trouble getting a nice straight line, and I'm going to select that line, and I'm just going to move it off of there so you can see it a little bit better. Let's go this way with it so you can see. Sometimes when you do that, your line isn't really perfectly straight. You might have some little bobbles in it. So to get a nice straight line, what I like to do is turn back on my grid, and I'll go to show, and then go back up again and go to snap. Let's see, I gotta go back here, hang on. Well, let's see, maybe if I click here again, it'll go to snap. I'm not sure why it's not, oh, there it is. So I should be able to snap, and my line, when I do my line, let's get my line, you can see, oh, it's not on the snap yet. Hang on 1 second. Let's escape out of there. Let's go back. There it is. Let me get the snap on. So when you do snap, it puts it right on the line like this. See how it's connecting to that line? But if I wanted it to be in the center of those, it snaps into the center. So I have a beautiful 45-degree line that I can make for my piece. So that's what I like to do. I like to put the snap for that. But we'll leave my line there for just a minute while we're working. So this line is your seam line, and I want it just inside that center square because I don't want to see the seaming. And when I move it in, you can see how it's not perfectly straight? If I had done the snap, it would be perfectly straight. I wouldn't have any of this little bobble there. So it's not quite a beautiful 45. So that's why you want to use your snap. Once I create one line, and let's delete that. Let's see if we can get a snap line. Let's see, are we still on? Yeah, we are. Once I create that snap line, let's do this. Right click. Okay, there we go. And shape. Once I create one, and let me go back and delete the bad one. This one here is the bad one. Once I create that one, I'm going to move it into place like this. I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard. Once I have it in place, all I need to do is copy paste it and then drag it down to this side and place it there and use my arrow keys to get it really in place where I want it. I would take that one, I could copy paste in my window up here. I would rotate 45 oh, actually 90, sorry. Do another. There we go. And then put this one in place and then do the other one. And so all of that would be done. Okay. All right. So after that all gets done, then you want that outside line to hold it down. And that's where you would come back in. Let me take the grid off here. That's where you would take this line. You could copy and paste that one and then turn it another color. I'm just going to turn it this green for now. I would change the stitch length on that. It doesn't need to be a 2.5. So you might want it to be, here's your length down here. You might want that to be more of a basting. So you could do maybe 4 or 5.0 mm and then hit return. And it converts it, for me, it converts it to inches because I work in inches. So that's going to hold down the outer part of my design. And then I would just need to come in and create the decorative stitch. So to do the decorative stitch, what I did was, let's see here. I'm looking at my directions to make sure I put it in here. I thought I wrote down the number of what that was. Well, we'll find it anyways. It's a little loop-de-loo. So using that same square again, because it's right on the area where I need it, I did copy paste. I changed the color again. So let's change it to something like this green here. And then I went to my properties. I went into stitches right here. And I think it was a J20 something. Let me see if I can find what the number is. Well, maybe I didn't write it down, but we will find it. So it's a little loop. Let's see if I put J up here. It was this one here, J025. And let me write that on my notes so we make sure I put it back in there. But you can use any one you want. And I selected that, and you can see it right here. Okay. It's using the length that I had before, but maybe I want to change the width now, and I'm going to do the width at 8.0 mm. So you can see there it is, there's my width, and it made kind of a nice corner over here. Maybe I'll change my width just a little bit more to 9.0 mm, or maybe it's 7. So you play around with that to figure out which one makes the best corner. There we go, that's good. And then that's your design. Then you bring in your whatever you're going to use for your embroidery, and you put that in the center. Okay. All right, so let me go back and show you how are we doing with that so far? I'm going to put the camera back on really quick so I can see, I can just connect with all of you for a moment. So far, that part's easy, right? That's a basic block with a center and the 4 corners. So once you get your lines in there, you're all set. So, and basically what we did is, if you, in the directions you'll see it says to hoop your stabilizer. Your color 1 is that outer unfinished. The color 2 is the inner one, and then the center block. So I did those in my sample stitch out here when I showed you my thing. These are all one color, but when I create it in different colors. So just so I can keep my parts. I like to keep my parts separate. And that way, and if you notice, I like to go back and reuse parts so that I don't have to recreate them. It saves a lot of time. Once you get something where you want it, you can keep going from there. Now, a lot of times for seaming, I like to change my stitch length to 2.5 or 3.0 for in the hoop because we are going through batting, we're going through a couple layers, so that works out pretty well to move it up. If I'm doing any tacking or placement lines, I'll move those up. They could be 4.0, 5.0, something like that, because you don't need a solid line, very solid line. It's just to show you where the next part goes or where to align your fabric. And all this all the squares are 5-inch square. The inner square is a 5-inch square, and then the outer corners are a 5-inch square cut on the diagonal. So you get these nice pieces, which I probably dropped on the, oh, here they are. So you get these nice triangles like that. And then they're plenty big enough to lay on there and fold back. And if you have one, if you don't get it quite right, just take your seam ripper, move it back, and stitch it on again. It's just easy to do. All right, so let's go back to the software. I'm going to check for questions. Hi, Lisa. Oh, I don't have my translator on, so I'm just going to say, oh, and Janice, you can hear. Good, I'm glad. Wait a minute. Well, I think everybody else can hear. I'm not sure. Can everybody else hear me? I haven't heard that. Janice, it could be that something on your end is not turned up. And all my lives on Thursday always come from the Janome Sewing Machine page. And a quick way to find them is to across the top, it says videos, click on videos, and the newest one, which will be me live, will come up on there. So hopefully everybody can hear because nobody else mentioned they couldn't hear. But Janice, if you want to send me a private message, maybe we can work out a time and I can do a little thing with you to see what's going on my end or your end, how we can fix this. Okay. All right. So here we go. And I have my AirPods in, so they're a little bit better than what I used to use. All right, so let's go back in. I'm going to bring up the pin cushion and show you how I did the, let's see, how I took the pin off of there to use for my quilting. So let's go back here. All right, so this is here it is. It's just like a red work design with a little solid there. So this is the pin I wanted to use. So I went over to my digitize outline shape and I just put a little line right there. Left click, right click, and shape. Then I selected it like that, and then I did shift and select the whole thing, right click, and there's knife. So when I hit knife, it cuts that little piece off, and I took that little piece, let me copy it, and I'm going to bring it back over to here, and I'm going to paste it. Let's see, where did it go? I have to figure out where it went. It's over there. Here we go. All right, and what I did is I just put it here in the corner and rotated it around till I got it where I wanted it. So this one, maybe I would rotate a little bit this way. I can make it a little bit bigger to fill the space like that. And then I just copy pasted or did duplicate, either is fine, and just rotate that one like this and move it over. One thing you can do, and I'll go back and show you this, when you select this one and you copy paste and you want to move it to, say I'm going to move it to the left, I can click on one of these arrows and see the center. If I bring that center down here, it will rotate off of that center. So when I bring it over here, see how it comes off of that axis just like that. So once I have those where I want them, I can select all of them. So I'm going to do one here, and I'm going to readjust them all at once so they'll be in one piece. There we go. So they're all as one, and I'm going to put it there. And I can group this, and all I need to do is copy paste. I can mirror image it. Let's do it this way. Wait a minute, this one. And then I could just drag that down to this corner, upper part over here. And then I could copy and paste, and I would just put them in all the corners. Or if you want to use your array tool, you can come here to your rectangular array, and you can put in how many you want. So I want 4. Oh, and I think I want 2 and 2 or something. Yeah, 2 and 2, like this. I don't know where they all went. Let's see. There they are. So you could rotate these around like this so they're in the right direction for where you want them. Oops, let me go back around here. There we go. And then you would just stretch them out that way, and these ones would come down here. This one needs to rotate. So you could do them all with your array tool, which is really quick too. All right, so let's see what else is going on. Thank you, Terry, for answering that. Look at bottom right. Suzanne, what was that for, bottom right? Oh, when I did that copy. So very easily, if you use your other tools, it's quick to move things from place to place on there. And I want to apply. Let's say yes. There we go. And then I would just remove those ones that are back there. So easily I could put them in there. If I need to adjust them, I can adjust from there. So that makes it very, very simple. Now, I want to point out when I did these lines here, I didn't make them come all the way to the side, but in my sample, I had those lines come all the way out to the edge. So you hold that fabric all the way to the edge. And let me show you. I'll go back to the camera and I'll hold up my sample. Let's see here. If I can get my little thing, there it is. Here we go. So let me hold this up, flip this down. So see how the seam goes all the way from one side, let's bring this up, one side to the other, all the way out to the edge. So when I flip this back, I make sure I'm covering that outer stitch. It just makes it easier to have it that long. You don't have to just make it all the way go out there. All right. I think I'm set. All right. So I will be posting the directions. I have to make a little change, okay? They will be on the Janome, on the Artistic Digitizer, I'm sorry, the Artistic Digitizer, the Janome Artistic Digitizer Facebook page. That's where all the stuff on Artistic Digitizer is. If you haven't been there, go check it out. We have skill builder videos for both the full version and our junior version. All the lives I've been doing are there. The ones that I do over here, I bring a link over there too, so that you'll find those matching up with the directions for any other than mystery blocks. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'll be back next week with something new. I'm only doing Thursdays now until probably into May. I have a little bit of a travel schedule. I'm going on some exciting events. I'm actually going to have some guest people as we go. Like last week I had Amy, and I know we had a little issue the second day. On Wednesday we were okay, but my dot to my polka. On Thursday we had a little bit of issue with the with buffering, and then the convention center, we were having an issue, so it ended our video. But in the convention center itself, they weren't being able to use their registers and stuff. So it was very weird. It's a really weird day. But so we got most of it done last week. So you could see the coffee wraps, how to create those in the hoop. But I'll be back next Thursday with something new. Be sure to check us out. We are on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully you'll meet up with us. We have Celine is usually our Tuesday gal, and we have another guest on Wednesday, and then I'm the Thursday person. So I'm going to let everybody go for now. Let's see if there's any final things here. So thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. So bye from now from the Janome Studio.